morning, everybody. It is 4 o'clock in the morning. By the time I probably upload this, it'll be a little bit later in the day. But we're going to go ahead and move along. This is Thoughts That Fit With You with Neo Gentrics, Food for Thought. We're going to hurry along and finish up the moral series this week, as March is almost over. Today we're going to have a pretty short discussion, but we're going to go ahead and cover contentment, in which case means, by definition, if I can remember real quick, I do believe it is a state of happiness and satisfaction, one in which you are content with yourself and what you have. While this may seem like a trivial thing to cover, in all honesty, it is actually not. While it won't take me as long to cover everything completely, it's still a topic that we need to cover. As Socrates put it, contentment is a natural wealth. Luxury is an artificial poverty. In other words, having a lot of things just to feel good about yourself is only temporary, and those items can either break or disappear in an instant. Whereas being content with whatever you have, even if nothing, is a more valuable trait to have, as you'll be able to keep more of what you have when you don't have anything. And no matter if you lose anything, it won't be as big of an issue. Now, granted, I understand that we live in a time frame now where money is something we definitely need in order to survive. But to be fair, in all honesty, you could go out and live in the woods without half the stuff you have in your house and just basically survive there on your own. But how do I put this? There were many reasons. There were many reasons why a lot of people have chosen to become minimalist and simplify their lives. You know, they were frustrated with clutter. They discovered that the time they were wasting on managing their possessions, they could have been used to do something else. I mean, joy wasn't found in their possessions, and they determined that they valued each other way more than the physical belongings. This initial process of simplifying one's home required energy, effort and encouragement. You had to be able to continually do this. And by the process of remaining minimalistic and living this, countercultural lifestyle against all odds, it requires something completely different. You have to be content with what you have, which in other words means even if you have nothing, still being happy with just that. Contentment is the lifeblood of a minimalist, okay? And without it, the journey towards minimalism is short-lived. Discontent will always rear its ugly head and become the great obstacle to a fully thriving life. A simple one anyway. Not only does contentment provide the opportunity for minimalism, it also reduces your stress level, improves your outlook on life, relaxes your body, and makes your life enjoyable. There is an unmistakable freedom that accompanies contentment. A freedom to be who you are, enjoy who you are, and live the life you were destined to live. Yet, in our consumeristic culture, where discontent is promoted and material gratification is encouraged, learning to be content can be very difficult. It is certainly a personal journey that we all must travel, and nobody's journey will look the same. Truly, there is no one-size-fits-all 7-step program to fully attaining contentment in your life, but I can give you 6 keys that can help you further develop contentment in your life. And I'll cover those next. Getting right back on track here. The first thing is become grateful, okay? It's impossible to develop contentment without gratitude, okay? They are inseparable, no matter what you may think or what you may say or what anyone's told you, okay? And a grateful person is one who has learned to focus on the good things in their life, not the things that they lack, okay? When you begin to question what you have to be grateful, just start making a list. A literal list of all the good things in your life, okay? Don't worry about finishing it. You don't need to, okay? The simple discipline of beginning the exercise will undoubtedly shift your focus back to the many good things you already have in life, okay? And I'm not talking about material things. 2, take control of your attitude. This is one that my parents have told me a lot. A person who lacks contentment in their life will often engage in when and then thinking, okay? When I get whatever, then I will be happy. Instead, take control of your own life. Remember, your happiness is not reliant on the acquisition of any possession. Your happiness is based solely on your decision to be happy, and this may be one of the most important life lessons you'll ever learn. I remember hearing this from my parents a lot when I was younger, well before my 15th birthday. 3rd, break the habit of satisfying discontentment with acquisition. In English, that means, for many of us, it has been ingrained into our lives that the proper way to diffuse discontent is to purchase the outward item that is seemingly causing the discontentment. No, this is absolutely wrong. Okay? Almost no energy is spent determining the true root of the discontent in this manner. Are you dissatisfied with your wardrobe? Go buy new clothes. Not content with your vehicle? Go buy a new one. We have gotten into the habit of satisfying our discontent by simply spending more money, which in turn leaves us with nothing. You always want to know why you're in debt? Well, now you know. We must break that habit. Understand that material possessions will never fully satisfy the desires of your heart. That's why discontent always comes back. The next time you recognize discontent surfacing in your life, refuse to give into the bad habit. Instead, commit to better understanding yourself and why the lack of that item is causing discontent. Only after you intentionally break this habit will true contentment begin to surface. Going back to the whole topic of self-control we covered previously. 4, you need to stop comparing yourself to others. Comparing your life with someone else will always lead to discontentment. This is not an episode of Keeping Up with the Joneses, okay? What they do is their business. What you do is yours. You don't need to be like them, okay? There will always be people who appear to be better off than you and seemingly living the perfect life. But be advised, we always compare the worst of what we know about ourselves to the best assumptions that we make about others. Their life is never as perfect as your mind makes it out to be. You are unique, you are special, and it always is better that way. Okay? Just because the grass seems greener doesn't mean it is. Okay? My life's no better than anyone else's. I may be super smart, but I went through hell to get here. I honestly can tell you that right now. If you ever get a chance to talk to me in real life, you'll understand this personally. My life has never been this simple or this easy. Okay? 5, help others out. And this is something I was raised with years ago, which is why I don't have a problem helping anybody. Sometimes you have to give in order to receive. And I'm not saying this in the terms of you'll always get something back in physical form. Sometimes it's just that good feeling of helping others that'll make you feel better about yourself. When you begin helping others, sharing your talents, time, money, energy, you'll find yourself learning to be content. The practice will give you a finer appreciation for what you own, who you are, and what you have to offer, and also a clear understanding of your own abilities. 6, be content with what you have, never with what you are, okay? Never stop learning, growing, and discovering who you are. Take pride in your personhood and the progress that you have made, but never become so content that you cannot find room for improvement. Contentment is not the same as complacency, and as soon as you stop growing, you start dying as a person. Now, like I said before, this is not a religious station, but the same thing applies, and it's also in the Bible as well. God teaches us to be content for the simple fact that through contentment and being content with what we have and what He's given us, He'll bring us closer to Him and a true form of peace. Not this false peace that the world provides to us, that we believe that if we do this, this will happen and everything will be okay because he said so, she said so, or the president said so. It doesn't work that way. If you want true peace, be content. Be satisfied with what you have, even if you have nothing. I've seen more contentment out of the homeless people on the side of the road than I do from the very people who had nothing, got everything, and still want more. There are people in the world who are rich and have way more than the average person. And yet, most of them, all I ever hear them talk about is what else can they buy, or how else can they spend their money, instead of looking for ways to help others. You think that is just something commonly found in the rich, you are dead wrong. It is found in the everyday lives of any person, every student, no matter what school you go to. I'm in school now, and no matter where I go or what I'm doing, I always sit down somewhere. Yes, I may talk a lot, but it does not mean I don't listen. And there are a lot of people around me that I hear and see every day. And all I ever hear them talk about is what can they do tomorrow, how tomorrow's going to work out, what they can buy tomorrow, what they need, what they're going to do, how much of this they need. Not once have I ever heard anyone give thanks for what they have, or even thank God for what they had, or even call their parents and said, you know what, Mom and Dad, I thank you for raising me the way you did, because had you not, I wouldn't be sitting here where I'm at right now at this university or at this school or on this job. Which brings me to an exciting point here. When I finish Contentment, and this is the end of this topic here, it wasn't a very long one, I'm going to go ahead and cover Thankfulness next. Thanks for listening, and I'll catch you next time on Food for Thought. My name is Neo Gentrics, and this has been the Moral Series, Thoughts If It Were You, on Contentment.